Hi, you're watching World Without Rule of Law. Welcome to the Southern Virginia homestead. Today, I am finally getting to the point where I'm trying to manage the blackberries. So most of these berries were tip planted in Connecticut and brought down and transplanted. This is the second year for some of them, the third year for a couple. This big one over to my right, that is actually a third year. Now, couple things, because being that I was just down here intermittently to work the last couple of years, I never really dealt with these. My priority was just to get them in the ground and get the roots established, and that's happening quite well. As you can see, I got some nice buds. This should be a pretty decent year for berries. I have to figure out some way to contend with the deer too. That's going to be the next phase, but for now, because they grew wild for a year or two in some cases, you know, when I first came down here, I was finishing the inside of the house, getting all the gardens established, doing stuff, and this just kind of took a back seat, a lower priority. What I'm going to do going forward to try to get a handle on it with the pruning, I'm still learning and figuring all that out. This, you can see the difference between this. I know you can't see the stem, but this is a little more woody. This is brand new growth. So you can see littler ones here, and throughout they're scattered. These are called primicanes, and this is a first year growth. This will not produce any fruit until next year. These were the growths from last year. These here with the blooms were these last year. And so now this year they're going to set fruit. Now some of them may be from the previous year because, as I said, I wasn't on top of the pruning. That's going to change going forward. What I'm going to do, my plan is to just take some of this jute twine, and I just put up this fence, and it's a little flimsy in the middle. I've got to get a couple of those long T-posts and set at least two more. But this will support it for now, but as we go forward, I'm going to have to change that. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm just going to take a little piece of jute twine, and I'm just going to loosely stake up these primicanes, or tie these primicanes up. Now, if I go along and do that to all these newer primicanes, after these set fruit, I'll go ahead and cut them right out. I'll follow them right down. And that'll be in the fall when all the blooms and berries are off and these have grown a full season. They're going to resemble those. Now, if you look really close, you could see the difference. These will be a little more woody, but you really have to examine them. So by tying them up in the fall, I'll come through here. Anything that's tied up will stay for next season. Anything that isn't tied up, I'll cut right out and burn. And then that'll begin to get me into a point where I can manage these. When these reach the top of here, I'm going to cut the tops off of them at this level. At that point, these should branch out more. And then as these branch out, they'll have little shoots come off of them. And I'll cut them at approximately 18 inches. And over the years, I could manage that way. Those new growths, see, what'll happen is next year these will be the woody ones and I'll have to cut these out. But the main stalk will stay and it will support that new growth. Still kind of learning all that, so it's an experiment and a work in progress. I'm not claiming to be an expert, and this is not a how-to video, because there's plenty of people out there that know a lot more about berry production and propagation than I do. So if you're looking for that kind of advice, I would recommend seeking that out. I'm just showing you, kind of taking you along as I experiment and show you what I do. And together, we'll see the successes and the failures in that. Now, if pan down, I'm going to leave this opening as it is. And I'm going to put another trellis over here, but you can see that there's gaps. And in that back row, there's gaps as well. So what I want to do is I want to fill those gaps in. So as I showed you you know, one of these that I tied up, I'm going to go ahead and do that to all these new growths. Now with this, I'm going to tip plant these, and I'm going to show you one, and I'm going to do several. When these take root, I'm going to plant them in the holes in those other rows to fill in the rows. Now, as I said, most of these berries that are here were tip planted from the bushes I had in Connecticut. And I've experienced about a 70 or 80% success rate with those. They're like a weed, they propagate pretty easily. And so with tip planting, what I've got here is I've got some nice, rich compost. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set down here, I'm going to water it down really well. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tie this just so that it keeps it in. Now I'm going to have to, when I cut these, when these take root, could be as early as 2 weeks, but more than likely it'll be 3 to 4 weeks. I'll probably wait. I stick this, make a little hole in the dirt, and actually what I should do is just trim these off a little right here. And so I'll stick this in here and push the dirt down around it. And then I'll just take a piece of twine and tie this just so it doesn't pop out over the next couple of weeks. And that'll just sit like that, and I'm going to water it in even more. And then after that soaks in, should be just a minute, I'm going to take and just cover it with some mulch. And that'll just keep it from having the sun completely dried out. We want that to stay as moist as we can in there. And so what'll happen is, and as I said, I got about 70-80% success rate when I did them last time. So if I do, 8 or 10 of them, there may be a few that don't take, but that's okay. And once this sits here, that tip will continue to root. It'll continue to grow. It will actually root out, and that's called tip planting. So after that 3 to 5, I mean, depending on the size of the thing, these could even sit in these tubs, in these planters all season. And I can go ahead and cut them and transplant them in the fall. That's probably the best time to do it, but these pots aren't big enough, because what happens with the berry roots, they grow underground laterally, and they grow pretty quickly, and so it won't be more than a few weeks, or within 2 to 3 weeks they should root properly. Another 3 weeks after that, would have outgrown these pots. So I'm probably going to transplant them somewhere between the 3 and the 6 week mark. And what I'll do is I'll come along, I won't touch them for at least 3 weeks. And I'll just give a gentle tug on it. And it'll be obvious if it's slipping, it's not rooted yet. If it has rooted, I should be able to feel that resistance. And so then I just come along and cut this right here. And then take the pot away, and I have another plant which I can take over there to fill in the rows. And so if I do that with several pots, that will fill my rows in to where I can propagate these out, because that's my goal. And then that's just kind of my management plan for the berries. Again, I'm not an expert, and I'm not in any way claiming to be, but I feel very confident with the tip planting. I've done that before, and while I still will not call myself an expert, I feel confident that that will be successful. This system of, holding back the primicanes, identifying them so I miss them in the pruning, in theory it seems like it should work. I've never tried it before, so as the years go on, I will figure out how to manage this. not too concerned about it because these berries grow like weeds and they propagate pretty easily. And really, if I make a mistake or if I have a problem, I could literally come in and cut these all right off at the ground and just start over. They'll just continue to start again. So if this turns into a giant mess that I can't manage because of some mistake, that'll be my backup plan. But then what happens is I skip a year, because once I do that, then that year I'll only get primicanes. I won't get any fruit till the following year. So that's my kind of like my last ditch effort, but if in doing that I have to sacrifice a year of production. So I'm hoping it won't come to that, and I don't think it will. Even if this system doesn't work out and I have to adapt it and go to something different, I should still be able to maintain. The worst come to worst, I could just let it all grow wild and the woody ones will die off eventually anyway. But what happens is, if I can come in and prune those woody ones off after they produce, that allows the energy to go to the ones that are setting berries for that year. So in theory, that should increase the yield, increase the harvest. And so that's what we're shooting for. All right, I tip planted a total of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I planted a total of 9. So if my rate holds, I should get around 7 of them. That'd be awesome. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. God bless you.